let me welcome you to the 6th day of the conference. First, I would like to thank the organizers for arranging such a wonderful conference. We are almost at the end of the conference, and it has been really successful and full of mathematics. So I hope many people have got many ideas and they have been benefited from this conference. So today's morning session, I would like to start with our first speaker of the day, Professor Santosh Nadimpalli from Indian Institute of Technology, Kanpur. And he will talk to us on the theory of types and interior support of smooth representations of p-adic group. So please welcome Professor Santosh Nadimpalli for his talk.
Thank you very much for the introduction. And I hope you can listen to me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this talk is about detecting invariants of smooth representations of p-adic groups, where by the way of looking at the restriction to the compact open subgroups. Okay, and the first part of the talk will mostly be recall of the general theory, and second I will explain some results and open problems and possible techniques involved in such problems. So okay, let's start. So okay, so let P be any prime number and let QP be the field of p-adic numbers, and ZP is the set of p-adic integers. So one thing is that so whatever I say in this talk is mostly valid for any finite extension of QP, not necessarily QP, but for simplicity I'm just considering the case of QP. Okay, so I'll just consider the case of QP in this talk, and P is any prime number and QP is a field of p-adic numbers, and let ZP be the set of p-adic integers, the usual things. The field QP is locally compact field, and the sequence of open subgroups given by P power n ZP, they form a basis of topology around the origin of QP. So this is a very weird thing, like the basis of topology is given by open compact subgroups. So this is very weird compared to what we see in real numbers. So G be any reductive group or QP. I'm not going to define what that is, but you can all your favorite examples like GLN, SLN, SO, exceptional groups are all examples of a reductive group. You can, if most of the talk will be concerned with this list, GLN, SLN, classical groups, and so on. So, and once you have a reductive group, you can talk about the group of QP points of the reductive group. This guy is naturally a locally compact group such that the identity has a basis of open compact subgroups which are induced from this filtration of QP. Okay. For simplicity, we'll call G to be a p-adic group. Okay. And for instance, when G is GLN of QP, the sequence of groups identity plus P power n times the matrices over ZP, n cross n matrices in entries in ZP forms a basis of topology around identity. Okay, so this guy is decreasing sequence of compact open subgroups and they form a basis of topology around identity. Okay, so in this talk, we are interested in the category of smooth representations of G. That means those representation rho comma V. V is a vector space and rho is the action of the group on the vector space for which the following property is satisfied. Every vector basically has an open stabilizer. So this is what the condition says. For any V inside V, there exists an open subgroup K of G such that rho K times V is V for all K inside K. Okay. In this definition, we haven't used any topology on V, neither the characteristic of V. V can be a vector space over a field of any characteristic. It does not matter for this definition. Okay. And irreducibility of smooth representations is the usual algebraic definition. That is, there is no non-trivial G invariant subspace of V. Okay. In this talk, we are mostly interested in complex representations, and the category of representations is denoted by this mathcal G. Okay. So let's look at some examples. When G is GL1 of QP, which is the non-zero numbers in QP, any reducible smooth representation is a character such that the subgroup 1 plus p power n zp is contained in the kernel for some n bigger than or equal to 1. Okay. These are the examples for GL1 case. And now we can see in the case of QP star that this guy has an isomorphic copy of Z, which is spanned by, which is the group generated by this by the element prime number P times the compact group ZP star. So this already shows that the category of representations of a periodic group cannot be semi-simple. After all, if you look at those representation on which those representations for which ZP star acts trivially, then you just have one linear operator and there is no reason for that to be diagonalizable, right? So therefore, the category of periodic groups are in general not semi-simple, but mostly the semi-simplicity is caused by this phenomenon itself. And that's we will see how this manifests into understanding the category of representation itself. Like many parts of representation theory, we also have good induction functors, which sort of builds representations of a bigger group from starting with a smaller group. Okay, so let H be a closed subgroup of G. The induction functor basically gives a map from the smooth representations of H to smooth representations of G. What does it do? It takes a representation sigma comma W of H to the G representation on the space of locally constant compactly supported functions sections of the bundle G cross H comma W of the product space to the usual coset space. Are people able to listen to me? Can you listen to me?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
You can carry on.
Yeah. So this is the usual induction definition for finite groups and all other groups. Depending on your smoothness or your topology, there would be some topological structure on this guy. But in our case, we do not put any topological structure. This is almost like a set, and this guy is a periodic manifold, and one can talk about locally constant functions and so on. We look at for every representation sigma comma W of H, we associate a G representation, which is the locally constant compactly supported sections of this bundle. That's the induction functor. So in the case of GLN of QP, typically we are interested in the groups H of the form QP star times K, where K is a compact open subgroup, or H is a parabolic subgroup of the group G. So we'll see some examples of parabolic subgroups and so on. Incoming. So unless G is compact modulo its center, all finite dimensional representations in the category of smooth representations are just characters. Typically, this means that all representations that you encounter in this theory are infinite dimensional representations. Okay, so what is a parabolic subgroup? Parabolic subgroup in a general reductive group is an algebraic subgroup P of G such that G mod P is proper. Okay, this is a definition, but we will see many examples in GLN which are much more concrete in nature. So let's start with the basic example of GL2 of QP. So in the case of GL2 of QP, the upper triangular matrices form is the first example of a parabolic subgroup. You can see that the quotient GL2 of QP modulo B is the set of all lines, which is the projective space over QP, and hence it is a compact set. So therefore, this is the group of invertible upper triangular matrices is one of the basic examples of a parabolic subgroup. Okay, now this the group B has two important subgroups, which is the set of diagonal invertible diagonal matrices and the unipotent matrices sitting inside B. One knows naturally that B is the semi-direct product of the unipotent group times the torus, or the diagonal invertible diagonal matrices. Suppose if chi is a character of T, then we can consider this as a character of the group B itself via inflation from the projection map from B to T. When you go modulo n, you naturally obtain a map from B to T. So by this way, you can consider this character chi, you can character this character chi as a representation of B, and then you induce this representation. So this representation induced from B to G of chi is usually called as a parabolically induced representation, or it's also called as a principal series representation. So it turns out that this representation is generically irreducible. So this means that there are only finitely many characters chi for which this representation is reducible, right? And that is there, in fact there are just two values of this character chi for which this induction is reducible. One of them is identity, of course, and the other one is a modulus character, which I will not define in this talk, but they are more or less equivalent. Okay, so if chi is equals to identity, then you have the induction, you can look at the induced representation, induce B to G identity. These are all functions on the space G mod B. So when you have functions on G mod B, you can look at the you can look at the constant functions, which forms the identity representation inside the space of all functions. So the quotient of, so therefore the identity representation occurs as a sub-representation of this chi, and the quotient is called the Steinberg representation and is an irreducible representation of G. So this induced representation in general has length 2. So it can have two subquotients usually. So this is the example for GL2 case, and in general also this is the parabolic induction is not very different from this case. The structure exactly looks like this, but let us look at what are parabolic subgroups of GLN case. So parabolic subgroups of GLN QP are associated to flags. So a flag is basically a sequence of subspaces inside QPN such that it's a decreasing I consider it as a decreasing sequence of linear subspaces of QP. The parabolic subgroup P associated to this flag is basically set of all elements inside the general linear group which fix F. This means that G of Wi is equals to W is contained inside, yeah, so it's basically it fixes this flag. So let N be the group consisting of all invertible matrices which fix these quotients. So Wi modulo Wi plus 1 is equals to Wi modulo Wi plus 1. Okay. So now we got P and N. N is a normal subgroup of P, and we want to get a subgroup M such that P is N times M. So this is like defining a Levy subgroup. So when we want to define a Levy subgroup, we need to have a choice of a splitting. So this means that you choose subspaces Vi such that Wi is Wi plus 1 direct sum Vi. Then M is defined as the matrices which fix these VIs. Okay. Now if sigma comma W is any irreducible smooth representation of M, then we consider sigma as a representation of P via the inflation map from P to the projection P mod N is equal to M. Now in this way we get a general parabolic induced representation, induced P to G of sigma. So this is the in general parabolic induction construction. So we talk about a parabolic subgroup which has a unipotent subgroup inside it, and this unipotent subgroup will have this unipotent subgroup has a complement to it, which is a Levy subgroup, and P is the semi-direct product of the unipotent group times the Levy subgroup, and then you form the parabolic induction using this procedure. This holds for all reductive groups whenever you have a parabolic subgroup contained inside that. Can you listen to me?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah. So a parabolic induction functor is a very nice functor. So in sense that if you take arbitrary closed subgroup, the induced representation may not have finiteness property. That is, suppose you start with an reducible representation and you take a induction, and the first question is that does this induction have a finite length, or is it finitely generated in first place? So in general, it turns out that if you take an arbitrary closed subgroup of the periodic group and you perform induction, you lose many finiteness properties, you lose finite length, etc. But this does not happen for parabolic subgroups. So in general, the parabolic induction functor preserves finite length. So it takes finite length representations to a finite length representation. So that is advantage in working with this particular induced representation, parabolic induction. Okay. So now naturally the question is that can every irreducible smooth representation of G can be obtained as a subquotient of a parabolic induction? So is it possible, does all the parabolic induction and their subquotients exhaust the entire irreducible smooth representations of G? And it turns out that it is not the case. But somehow it is surprising in periodic groups, but because when you do representation theory of real reductive groups, then you do have such a theorem which is due to Harishchandra. But in periodic groups, such things do not happen. So there are many representations which do not occur as subquotients of parabolically induced representations. So these are called the supercuspidal representations. Okay, now it is, of course, one has to somehow show examples of such representations, and I will indicate some easy method to see it for GL2, and for other supercuspidal representations exist for all periodic reductive groups. So that is known, and then for GL2 it's almost easy counting exercise. So supercuspidal representations, in other words, can also be characterized by some other means without using the parabolic induction. They are basically the matrix, those representations for which the non-zero matrix coefficients are always supported on a compact set modulo its center. So you can, of course, like as a finite representation theory of a finite group on a finite vector space can be realized as matrices, and the entries of the matrices are called the matrix coefficients. So even in this theory, one can define analogs of the matrix coefficients using the dual space. So basically, you can use the dual of the smooth representation to define the matrix coefficients in a usual manner, and they must be supported. They must have a compact support modulo its center. I will not go into this definition. This is not very relevant at this point. But they have an independent characterization apart from parabolic induction functors. So remember, so far we have constructed parabolic induction, and we have constructed the parabolic induction, and we said that there are representations which need not occur as subquotients of these parabolic induction, called the supercuspidal representations. Okay, this is so far. And let's give some examples of supercuspidal representations. Let K be the group GLN of ZP, the compact subgroup of GLN of QP, and let sigma be an irreducible representation of GLN of FP such that it does not have any fixed points for all p-silo subgroups of GLN of Fp. So such a representation is called a cuspidal representation of GLN of Fp. This must be of GLN of Fp. Okay. So for n equals to 2, it is just a simple counting exercise on conjugacy classes. So you have basically induced representations are just induced from characters of the torus, and then you can just count the number of conjugacy classes which are given by the rational canonical form and so on. So it is very easy to count the conjugacy classes of GL2 of Fp and count the number of parabolic induction, number of representations obtained as parabolic induction. We have already seen that it has at most 2 factors, and using this counting exercise one can simply realize that there are representations of GLN Fp such that sigma has no fixed point by p silo subgroup of GL2 of Fp. So n equals to 2, it's very easy counting exercise, and that will show the existence of cuspidal representation for the finite group. So when you have so what you can now do is that suppose sigma is such a cuspidal representation of K, then via natural inflation map you consider the sigma as a representation of the maximal compact subgroup K. And now you extend sigma as a representation of Qp star times K by setting P to act trivially on sigma. Okay. So you set P to act trivially on sigma, and then that becomes, so now sigma can be considered as a representation of Qp star times K. Now you can form the induction from Qp star K times GL2 of Qp of sigma, and this is an irreducible representation. So the way to prove that this is an irreducible representation is just use the usual Mackey criteria. Look at the double coset representative GL2 Qp modulo this guy, and one can show that there is no intertwining, and the fact that there is no intertwining exactly follows from this condition, that there is no fixed points by the p silo subgroup, and that gives you the result that this is irreducible. And since this is induction from a compact open subgroup, using matrix coefficients argument, one can show that this is an irreducible representation. Okay, irreducible supercuspidal representation. So supercuspidal representations does exist for all p-adic reductive groups, and this is not easy result. However, it is slightly subtle or counting argument of this form. One can now show that every irreducible smooth representation occur as subquotient of a parabolic induction where sigma is now so I keep using the word cuspidal and supercuspidal in interchange, but of course that is true for complex numbers. There is something to prove in positive characteristic, but this talk is all about complex numbers. So I'll just keep using supercuspidal and cuspidal in an interchange way. So so basically now any irreducible smooth representation occurs as a as a subquotient, or rather a quotient of the parabolic induction, where sigma is now a cuspidal representation of a Levy subgroup of P, where remember Levy subgroup is this M that we define such that P is n times M. Now the question of classification of irreducible smooth representations of a p-adic group can be reduced to understanding subquotients of parabolic inductions and cuspidal representation. But both these things are equally hard, and the methods that are usually used in proving such results are totally different in nature. So the way to analyze subquotients of parabolic inductions and way to construct cuspidal representation are sort of orthogonal in nature. Usually they are very. However, if you want to understand the category of smooth representations, it is just, of course, it is reduced to first understanding cuspidals and then trying to understand what are the subquotients of parabolic induced representations. However, in practice, what happens is that you assume that cuspidal representations exist, and the techniques of understanding the parabolic inductions, what are subquotients of them, one does not require many serious properties of the cuspidal representation. Okay. So now the question comes, if suppose you have two parabolic inductions. So if you have two different parabolic induced representations, now it might happen that a smooth representation can occur in both these parabolic induced representations. So you want to reduce redundancies in building the the set of irreducible representations. So the first question comes is, when does two parabolic induced representation have the same or a common Jordan Holder factor, at least one? So let's take two parabolic subgroups. P is equals to m1 times n1 and q is m2 times n2, where n1 is the unipotents and m's are the Levy factors. And let sigma 1 and sigma 2 are two cuspidal representations of m1 and m2 respectively. So the Levy subgroup are always reductive groups, so cuspidal representations again make sense. And it is natural to ask, when does two parabolic induced representations have a common Jordan Holder factors? Okay, so the answer for this is rather simple. So if suppose the parabolic induced representations have a common Jordan Holder factor, then there exists a element G inside G such that M1 and M2 are conjugate by G, and sigma 1 so sigma 1 now becomes a representation of M2 by this conjugation, by twisting with this conjugation, and that sigma 1 twisted by G must be isomorphic to sigma 2. So yeah, so basically what is sigma 1 G? So you have G m1, G inverse is m2. So you just take an element of m2 which is G m1 G inverse, and then you apply conjugation by G inverse. So that is what is sigma 1 G as a representation of m2. It's just twisted by this automorphism. Okay. And now one can see that this condition that we have here, the conjugation by the element of G, is basically an equivalence relation on the set of pairs m comma sigma, where m is a Levy subgroup of a parabolic subgroup of G and sigma is a cuspidal representation of m. So this defines sort of an equivalence relation of what are the possible m's. They are basically conjugates to each other, and sigmas are basically transported via this conjugation. Okay, and if suppose a smooth representation pi occurs as a subquotient of the induced representation, where sigma is a supercuspidal representation of a Levy factor of P, then the equivalence class containing m comma sigma is called the cuspidal support of pi. Okay, so now given the category of given category of any representations of an abstract group, we want to get some sort of functorial decomposition of this category into irreducible subcategories which are indecomposable. So for example, if you're working over a finite group, then the subcategories are those representations which have all simple factors given by one single irreducible factor, right? So in order to do this, we must consider the fact that already there are some extensions provided by this factor of P. So one needs to somehow refine the notion of cuspidal support. So this is very hard equivalence relation. We need to make it slightly coarser. And this coarse definition is called the inertial support. So what is an inertial support? Inertial support is basically just extending this relation on these pairs by not just the isomorphism of this twisted representation, but you also have a character chi, which is the unramified character of M2. So what is an unramified character? So I'll explain it in the case of GLN. after all in GLN, all these M's are product of several general linear groups. So therefore, it is enough to understand what it means for one general linear group. General linear group is given by the following character. So first you take the determinant and then you take a character of QP star here, this QP star, sorry for that. So an unramified character of GLN of QP is exactly for those characters such that chi of P is equals to identity. Okay. So basically you are looking at all those guys for which I'm sorry, here it should be chi ZP star. It should be identity on the ring of integers inside QP. I am extremely sorry for this. It's not P, it is the ZP star. So with that correction, let pi be an irreducible smooth representation contained inside an induced representation where sigma is a cuspidal representation of a Levy subgroup. Then the inertial class containing the pair m comma sigma is denoted by m comma sigma. So this is the inertial class, which is relaxed criterion of the equivalence relation. This is called the inertial support of pi. Okay. So Bernstein sort of proved an equivalence relation. Okay, let S be an inertial equivalence class and let MSG be the full subcategory of smooth representation whose irreducible subquotients have inertial support S. Remember, we have defined what is inertial support of a representation. Look at when pi occurs inside this induction and look at the inertial class containing this pair m comma sigma. Okay. Now the category of smooth representations admits the following decomposition into subcategories of the form MSG defined in the above point. So this is sort of an analog of isotypic decomposition for a group G. So it gives you a functorial decomposition of any irreducible representation pi into pi s, where this pi s belongs to this category MS of G. And there are no extension between pi s prime and pi s. Okay. So now let I be the inverse image of the upper triangular matrices in the map. So you look at upper triangular matrices here and take the inverse image under this obvious reduction map. And if suppose S is T comma identity, where in the case of G is GLN, T is just the diagonal matrices. So that is also a Levy subgroup, right? For the Borel subgroup, which is invertible upper triangular matrices. You look at this inertial class, and then Borel proved that pi has fixed points by this open compact subgroup if and only if this pi is inside this component. So in some sort, this theorem of Borel suggests that the cuspidal support of an irreducible smooth representation can be read from understanding its restriction to the compact open subgroup, which is in this particular case, it is the group, it is called the Ihori subgroup, which is the inverse image of upper triangular matrices. So this began the study of understanding inertial support from the restriction to the compact open subgroups. Okay. So the following theorem, the above theorem of Borel is now known for many inertial classes of many p-adic reductive groups, although it's not yet complete, but large classes of groups are already considered. Large classes of reductive groups are already considered, and if you assume that P does not divide the order of the Weil group, etc., that is, so this analog of Borel's theorem is now known for all reductive groups. Now, what does this mean? So basically, there exists explicit construction of pairs Js and lambda s consisting of a compact open subgroup Js and a reducible smooth representation lambda s, such that for any irreducible smooth representation pi of G, this lambda s occurs inside pi if and only if pi is inside this category, this block. So such pairs Js and lambda s are called the types, and these types are explicitly constructed for GLN and for many other groups using techniques of Bushnell and Kutzko, and also a lot of variants of these constructions are now known. And often these constructions are rather explicit in nature, like there is some scheme of construction in one paper, there is another scheme of construction in some others, and if one wants to go between one construction to another construction, it is extremely complicated, and it's very difficult to use such that means that there is no characterization of these pairs Js and lambdas. These are the pairs which satisfy some nice property. So for this reason, and then applications in number theory, it was required to construct types by fixing the subgroup Js to be the maximal compact subgroups. Okay, so this led to the theory of typical representations. So for example, let us take, since we want to build types for maximal compact subgroups, that immediately runs into problems. For example, if you take the identity T comma identity, an inertial equivalence class of GL2 of QP, the representations identity and the Steinberg representation both occur here. And if suppose K comma tau is a type for this block, then tau is necessarily identity because it must occur inside the identity representation. And using Iwasawa decomposition, which is this usual famous decomposition, we can see that the Steinberg representation has no trivial representation. There is no fixed points by the compact open maximal compact subgroup K. K here is the GL2 of ZP. Okay. In general, the example shows that there may not be any type of the form K comma tau in the above strict definition, that if pi contains lambda s if and only if pi is inside the block. So therefore, the following relaxation in the definition of type was suggested by Enya. So you look at an S in be an inertial class, an irreducible smooth representation tau of K is called an S-typical representation if only one way is true, that if suppose it occurs inside pi, then pi is inside MSG, not the other way around. So if pi is inside this, this inequality need not happen. So you are basically interested now in the S-typical representations of a compact open subgroup K. So given any type of an inertial class S of GLN, the GLN has a nice property that it has up to conjugation, it has a unique maximal compact subgroup. So therefore you can conjugate this JS inside K and you look at the induced representation. Now Frobenius reciprocity implies immediately that all these guys are S-typical representations of K. But now we can ask, are there any other examples of K-typical representations? So it is natural to ask for the classification of S-typical representation of K other than those constructed in this example. So then we are going to speak about some known results and some still problems which are open in this direction. So in the case of GLN of QP, we conjecture that any S-typical representation is a sub-representation of the induced representation. So this sort of gives some kind of legitimacy of what this lambda s, this construction of the pairs JS and lambda s are. So like there are many constructions, but yet when you induce to K, it satisfies a very simple property that it is an S-typical representation, which does not involve any explicit construction. So it's some kind of characterization of types. So a lot of substantial progress is already made, but the question still remains open. So what are known results in the case of GLN? So if F is a finite extension of QP, so are you people able to hear me? Can you guys?
Yes.
Yes.
So let F be a finite extension of QP. Now I want to state my general result. So I will assume that F is a general local field, which just means that is a finite extension of QP or it's isomorphic to FP of T, where T is a variable. And let OF be the ring of integers of F. These are like the p-adic integers, and it has a unique maximal ideal PF and I denote by var p of f the generator of pf. It's a principal ideal, and let you fix a generator. Let K be the group GLN of OF. Okay. So the classification of typical representation for all inertial classes of GL2 is due to NER. So he proved even for the case P is 2, there are some discrepancy from the above conjecture. So this conjecture so I should note that this conjecture holds true for all P not equals to 2. One can make a refinement of this conjecture for P is equal to 2 as well, but I'm not going to go into such technicalities. So NER proved even for P is equals to 2. So I proved, assuming that the residue field, which is the quotient of the ring of integers modulo maximal ideal, if it has more than 3 elements, then I proved that any inertial class S of GL3 of F and as typical representation of K occurs as a sub-representation of this. So in my thesis, I also proved this statement for n equals to 4. And in most of the cases, there is one small case still remaining. So otherwise, this result is already also known for n equals to 3 and n equals to 4. But later, if suppose for inertial classes of the form S is GLN comma F, so basically where you assume that the Levy subgroup is the whole group and sigma is the cuspidal representation, the typical representation, so this representation remains irreducible representation, and Pascunas showed that any S typical representation is isomorphic to this induced representation, somehow showing that typical representations for cuspidal representations are unique. Okay, so let K1 be the group 1 plus var p times the n cross n matrices. Let S be any inertial class of GLN. Here M is allowed to be any Levy subgroup, which can be product of smaller GLNs, not just the GLN of F. So you look at some inertial class S of the form sigma K1 intersection M is non-zero. This means that this sigma is sort of has fixed points by the intersection of this guy with the Levy subgroup. These are called the depth zero representations. Remember that if you put higher n's here, higher var peak power k here, these forms a decreasing sequence of compact open subgroups, and then smooth representations are supposed to have fixed points. So we are looking basically at the topmost layer of smooth representations. So I proved that S typical representations are sub-representations of this induction, and the structure of these representations is rather simple. It is somewhat like inflation of a parabolic induction of GLN of FP, and those representations are very highly studied by Howlett-Lehrer theory or by Lustig and so on. And in fact, in this case, it's just results of Ho. So in the classical groups, so I also proved some results beyond GLN. In the case of classical groups, the main problem comes with the conjugacy classes of maximal compact subgroup. In general, the conjugacy classes are not unique. So suppose in the case of SL2 of QP, SL2 QP, SL2 ZP, and this just a second. So these two are conjugate in these two compact subgroups as SL2ZP and T times the conjugation. They are conjugate obviously in GL2, but they are not conjugate inside SL2 of QP. So there are many classes of compact open subgroups. So you want to talk about S typical representations of that compact open subgroup. Hello? Can you listen to me?
Yeah, you continue.
Yes.
So therefore, the non-uniqueness of maximal compact subgroup is a problem. So in general, S typical representation for a general compact subgroup may not exist, unlike the case of GLN. But somehow for G equals to SLN of F, when P does not divide N, it was showed, Peter Latham showed the analog of Pascunas' result. So in some cases, S-typical representations exist, and in some other maximal compact subgroups, it does not exist. So he proved completely that case. And Monica Nevins and Peter Latham extended to other classes of groups. And I proved that when G is a split classical group and K is a hyperspecial maximal compact subgroup, and S is a depth zero inertial class, which again says the same property, then I along with Amiya Mandal, we proved that all S typical representations are subrepresentations of this. And I make the following conjecture. So general, now let's come to some questions. So for general reductive group, so inertial class S, can one show the finiteness of S typical representations? So even that is not known for a general case. That is quite interesting. So in the, for any general split reductive group, take a hyperspecial maximal compact subgroup, assume the condition that it is of depth zero. Is the statement true? So this is one problem. And the question basically still pertains to exceptional groups. So that case is not known. All classical groups GLN, I have proved it. So can we remove the hyperspecial condition, like this point is non-zero, and assume that depth zero case? So this, another interesting, Zinc sort of say that given an irreducible representation, irreducible smooth representation of GLN of F, which is tempered, then they show which representations of this compact induction occur in that tempered representation. And such analysis is not known for any class of groups. Even for SLN, one does not know the analog of this Schneider-Zinc result. That means you take a tempered representation of the bigger group, you tell me which irreducible representations of this maximal compact subgroup occur in that guy. Okay, so these are some interesting questions, and especially the Schneider-Zinc question is rather very interesting, and it has many interesting number theoretic applications. So I prepared some more slides for sketch of proofs, but then I don't seem to have time. But anyway, so the key proposition in all this argument is the following thing. So this is the most important problem if we want to prove any of these results. So this problem must be solved for exceptional groups. So let G be a finite reductive group, and let P be a maximal parabolic subgroup, which is not equals to G, and let sigma be a cuspidal representation of a Levy factor M. You look at a non-trivial unipotent element in the unipotent radical of P, and look at the stabilizer. M acts naturally on N is the normal subgroup. So look at MU, the M stabilizer of U. For any irreducible subrepresentation Xi in the restriction of sigma to Mu, you must construct an irreducible representation of M which is not equal to sigma, and such that this Xi occurs. So in other words, what you are saying is that the stabilizers of unipotent subgroups inside N cannot distinguish cuspidal representations together. So in fact, the problem should be true if you replace sigma prime, not any irreducible, but in fact a cuspidal representation. Two cuspidal representations cannot be distinguished by the restriction to the stabilizer of the an unipotent element. So this is a key proposition. So it's sort of a concrete problem. Even if you do not understand many things, this can be the concrete problem one can take away. So I'll stop here.
Thank you very much, Professor Santosh, for such a nice and well-organized talk. Now it's time for questions. So if anybody has any question, then he can unmute and ask the question directly. So anybody has any question, please ask. I think there are a few questions in the chat box.
Okay.
So if you can see.
Yeah, so these are probably clarification.
Yeah.
So Mihir asked me that any irreducible smooth representation occurs as a sub of a parabolic induction, sub-representation of a parabolic induction, not a quotient. So these two are equivalent things. So if something occurs as a quotient or a subquotient, you can change the parabolic subgroup by conjugation such that it occurs as a sub-representation. So these are equivalent. These are results of Castleman or even Bernstein, for example. So this is one question. What is T? T is the diagonal matrix. Okay, so yeah, there is no more questions.
If there is no other questions, then let us thank the speaker once again. So thank you, Professor Santosh, for such a nice talk.